by the people.
By the
people
everything.
as part of the poll.
Yeah.
The
So-
maximum votes came in for Bulls,
Bull,
Bears,
and Banter.
Bulls, Bears, and Banter. Yeah, goes with it, right? I mean, me and Sajeet always have this argument about I'm a Parva Bull, and he's usually a watchful skeptic, if you will. But he's been a more successful investor, which is a good thing.
No, but tell me one thing. Mila 25 basis
No, I agree. Yeah, you're right, Sajeet. So, okay.
तो market क्यों गिरा है?
No, I agree. So therefore, I mean, to my mind, as I was looking at the policies, I'm just trying to enjoy the coffee, by the way, which I won. But yeah, so the policy, and I was writing the newsletter that I'll publish today, right? The 25 basis points given, it almost seemed like what a global central bank banker would have come in and said, okay, there is a lot of expectation around this. I'm giving the 25. Now, let's wait and watch. And he was very categorical in the policy statement that the RBI governor that they will assess the situation afresh every quarter.
Every policy based on data points.
Every policy based
now
on
he's
data
talking
points.
like Jerome Powell, right?
Yeah.
कि data point देखूंगा उसके बाद
Yeah, data
करूंगा.
dependent, which is very good. And he mentioned data dependent at least thrice in the policy statement, which was a good thing. Part one. Part two, just a small debate that was there was on growth. Now, of course, the RBI in its wisdom has said 6.7%. A lot of economists who were there, including Moody's and ICRA, etc., said that no, we don't think it was 6.7, maybe around 6.4. KK Mistry came in and said that 6.7 is conservative. If the monsoons are okay, and if there is no negative big global surprise, then he expects the growth to be 6.8 or 6.9%. Now, if all of that were to happen, it's great news. Maybe it is mildly inflationary, but I think that will be within tolerance level. My point is, the RBI, last point, the RBI will not be dovish right now, but there is no way the RBI was hawkish.
This is a hawkish rate cut.
It is not a dovish rate cut. There's a difference.
It's a hawkish rate cut.
No, I don't think it's hawkish.
All the conditions precedent were pointing to a cautious outlook for the global, because inflation,
but that's
global
correct.
And look at it. KK was the only one who's bullish. Everything is based on the kind of 4.2% inflation for FY26. That's what it is. And I was just looking at the key points from the Britannia con call, and they're saying they're going to take a 6% price hike over the next 2 quarters, which is there, which basically means that input price inflation.
Suggested that.
Yeah, inflation is now going into the P&L of many companies, and they will do it. So that price hike, so the assumption of 4.5 in Q1, 4% in Q2, 3.8% in Q3, and 4.2% in Q4. These may get revised over the next few quarter as you go towards it.
I doubt it, Sajeet. There's a base effect that comes into play for quarter 1 and quarter 2.
It's dependent on rainfall.
Of course, but that has always been the case.
I get it.
By the way, please send in queries, because we are going to try and take queries right from minute 5 this time around. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. But make
it
it
be as quick as possible.
So my assumption is that I think he's been little optimistic on the inflation part of it, saying that inflation will go down to 3.8% by the end of December this year.
Donald Trump भी बोल रहे हैं.
Trump को तो पावल से ज़्यादा मालूम है. पर हमारे यहाँ पर ऐसे नहीं बोलते ना, हमारे यहाँ पर तो गवर्नर को ज़्यादा मालूम है.
On inflation, I'm sure even Modi ji will say that the RBI has a better handle. So no surprise.
Not just Mr. Modi, but even Nirmala Sitharaman will say that the RBI is a better person to look at it.
But if I can come in, so 2 arguments.
But banks have been hit badly.
Yeah. So 2 arguments I'd like to make before I go to banks. One is the fact that I believe, basis the commentary as well as the press conference, that he is very clear that his mandate is to bring back growth. That I think was absolutely clear. Whether he manages it or he tries really hard for it. He spoke about growth in the economy. He spoke about system liquidity getting better, which is a big positive. He spoke about the fact that the curbs that have been imposed on banks will be taken up only in the rarest of rare situations. He spoke about how the LCR will not get implemented up to FY27, start of FY27.
April 1, 26.
and he spoke about how ECL norms also will not apply. So he is in a currently the stance seems to be he is on the back foot with regard to any kind of hawkish delivery. And that also he said he will consider 1st April 2025. He has not said it will happen. He said he will assess the environment and consider whether to actually do it. My view therefore is that it's more a dovish tilt. If at all anything.
I see this from a point of view.
We have last 1 minute on the policy, right? Then we have questions.
I'm saying this because I've seen many officials of finance ministry who went on to the Reserve Bank of India initially being talking the same language, right? But eventually the RBI, they become part of the RBI.
Fair.
And the RBI has a long-term view on and not a short-term view on the economy. They do it for a long-term. Short-term, they use all other measures, including liquidity and other stuff. But for long-term, it's everything long-term. Just to give an analogy, when Mr. Das was the governor, he became the governor. He started off with a 25 basis point rate cut, and then after that, we haven't seen a rate cut, right? And we're seeing here. So I'm just trying to say that it is early days for the governor. He's still going through the thing, and that's the reason why he has put many of the path-breaking or that harsh systemic measures which were coming through as part of Governor Das' program, not on whole I would say, but on review.
Yeah.
And
with all due respect,
it's kicking the can down.
With all due respect, you have many years of more experience than I have.
Yeah, no,
as the health suggests.
He will tell you that. Even means we've seen this happening time and again. So every time the new governor is coming in, the first
for me it's a first change.
So now the impact. Chalo, let's get to impact.
The impact is
banks, NBFCs.
MBFCs. Why is the bank index down?
So sorry. One quick argument I also want to make is he spoke about the fact that the delta between inflation and the repo is 1.25%, which he is okay with. So if by chance inflation were to fall another 50 basis points only, you might well see another 50 basis points cut on the repo, and that's just initial thoughts basis whatever.
I'm in the camp for lower inflation and lower rates. But anyway, impact on banks and NBFCs.
Second, impact on banks and NBFCs. Yes, there will be.
It's a question, from one of our guests.
Yes, there will be an impact, and we've been speaking about this from the morning. The biggest beneficiaries of this, M&M Financial is one of them, SBI Cards is one of them.
Why?
Because you will have a translation of around 2 to 2.5% on their profit before tax and therefore profit after tax. That's the bottom line impact.
So
I'm not even talking about
impact hoga.
Margins will get better. Why so? Because when they borrow at a particular rate. Now that the rate linked to the borrowing that they've made has gone down by around 25 basis points. This is the impact, which is around 2 to 2.5% on profit after tax. That's basically the net impact, roughly. And this is as per Morgan Stanley estimates. Stocks have already run up, by the way. We've been flagging this since the morning as well. 5 to 7% is the run up on some of these counters already. There are, of course, a bunch of NBFCs, but the biggest impact is on these. The other one, there's a reverse impact on an LIC housing because they have a fixed rate borrowing, which they borrow, and a floating rate lending, which they lend out. 99% of everything that they lend is on a floating basis and therefore will adjust very quickly given that the repo has adjusted, and therefore their incomes will fall as a result of the fact that the rate has fallen, the rate of borrowing for their customers has fallen, but their rate of borrowing has not fallen, and therefore there will be a 7% impact on their PBT as a result of this. Stock hasn't corrected in this particular case.
Just for the retail
and this is NBFCs only.
For the home loan people, right? I mean, that's something. आपके लोन एक तो EBLR based है और दूसरा fixed rate based जो आते हैं. And many banks have both the thing because it's still a transitionary phase. सब completely EBLR में नहीं गए सब.
And they don't
want to go.
Yeah, sometimes it's a choice.
It's a choice being given to the customer basically. And आपका portfolio का 20 to 25% ही EBLR है, बाकी सब fixed है. तो net impact क्या होगा उसका?
So
for
roughly,
the retail investor.
so
क्या
when I
होगा,
was doing
bank
the
नहीं.
math in the morning, roughly 1,000 rupees per month of EMI gets saved on a 50 lakh rupee loan on a 15% tenure and a 9% rate. This is the math. You can of course do your own math depending on the loan you have, but around 1,000 rupees
अगर आप
per
EBLR
month.
में हैं.
अगर आप रेपो लिंक्ड EBLR स्ट्रोक रेपो लिंक्ड लोन में है, 50 लाख के लोन पे 9% के रेट पे 15 साल के टेन्योर पे 1,000 रुपया बचता है रफली EMI, तो 12,000 रुपया बचता है रफली फॉर द ईयर. You can also opt to reduce your tenure on the loan and keep your EMI the same. That is your choice. But I have just done broad math.
But if you are not on the EBLR or the repo plus spread में, then there's nothing changing for you.
No, nothing changing for you.
गवर्नमेंट ने महीने का 12,000 दिया, RBI ने साल का 12,000 दे दिया. Not bad.
Not bad, ना?
Not bad. अच्छा, very
महीने
quickly.
का 12,000 I would beg to differ, but I'd beg to differ.
क्यों, कितना था? I mean,
10,000 लेके चलो यार, 10,000.
8-9 at max. 8-9 at max. 1.1 lakhs.
You had only said to me
1.25 ना?
that you will
1.1.
save about 12,000 rupees on your.
हाँ, पर आपको NPS वगैरह भी करना पड़ेगा, तब जाके आपको होगा.
अच्छा, चलो.
1.1.
Very quickly before we move on.
M&M.
हाँ, नहीं, so REC PFC are up and about. There was some RBI mentioned that ECL, which is only a discussion paper, and
We
draft
just spoke
project
about
financing,
it.
we
Yes.
spoke about.
We
So
spoke
therefore
about it.
PFC REC have shot up.
They will shoot up because why? Because you were, say, supposing on 100 rupees of loan, you were expected to do a provisioning of 2% right on day one. On the day
तो
you disburse
provisioning
the
बच
loan,
जाएगा.
वो बच जाएगा.
वो provision नहीं होगा, and therefore that will flow straight to profit after tax, allowing them to disburse 30% of PAT as dividend. Mind you, these are dividend plays, and the dividend that they declare is a percentage of PAT, which is 30% of PAT. Because the PAT will be higher, your dividend will be higher in the hands of shareholders, and therefore you're seeing that reaction on the stock. And secondly, the governor also said it is minimum up to 31st March 2026 deferred. It could well be another 6 months or 12 months,
Or it could be in
post
phases,
that.
phases also.
Or it could be in phases. Yes, that is the other thing he mentioned, and therefore those stocks are up and about.
Since we are on the topic of RBI, before we take on M&M, so Crazy Crux is asking, right? One question you think the RBI or the governor is yet to answer. Actually, I think there are a lot of questions yet to answer, but I don't think all of these questions are possible to be answered in such a fluid scenario. In fact, most people either, frankly, anybody who is bullish or bearish or sticking their neck out and saying कि ये होगा, वो बंदी या बंदे के पास भी सारे आंसर नहीं है. It is very difficult.
If you're trying to ask कि RBI गवर्नर ये क्यों नहीं कह रहा कि इस साल कितने रेट कट होंगे या रेट हाइक होंगे,
Possible नहीं है
वो
बोलना.
पॉसिबल नहीं है, because our policy statements are not like the US where they have that the graph which shows how much of policy cut rate cut.
Inflation is difficult to say,
Yes.
growth is difficult to say, and I think for the first policy, I
But
think the RBI
directional
government
है
did a good
ये,
job.
and he's showing you कि भैया आगे ना काफी सारे ट्रैफिक लाइट्स हैं, simple.
Exactly.
And expect shorter policy statements.
Yeah.
To the
28
point,
minutes.
very, very pointed. He was very, very pointed, and that's different
Well crafted
from Mr. Das.
statement.
But it was 28
Not
minutes.
that, Mr. Malhotra.
It was different from Mr.
Yeah,
Das.
yeah.
But it was 28 minutes versus 30 minutes of Shakti Kanta.
36 minutes was his last policy statement.
That was the last.
28
Otherwise it
minutes
is
was his first. The first 10 minutes, though, he took on the transition on how he
Let's see.
expects policy to be,
Let's see.
etc.
Let's see. It could be interesting.
So
Okay.
you might well see smaller
But actually, he
policies.
was trying to address the inflation question, right? Why RBI is sticking with inflation as the benchmark, or
Let's see if it's shorter. I mean, not unwelcome. Okay. There's a question on Mahindra and Mahindra. Now, there is Chinese competition, etc. All of that is a clear and present danger for a lot of companies. Now, it depends on the influx of Chinese car makers into the country, because their price points will definitely be competitive. But you have to admit, again, this is a very difficult thing to answer.
आज में चाइनीज का सिर्फ BYD है ना, सिर्फ
BYD है. MG was
MG,
but now
अभी और
JSW,
क्या है,
etc. Right? Yeah, but you argue, चलो MG हुआ, BYD हुआ, what have you. But you have to admit that M&M has gotten its act together. Their cars are looking good. Their dealerships are there. Their response is very good. We were going through the Western Express Highway dealerships for searching a car for my better half. We didn't end up buying. That's separate. But the point being, a lot of showrooms were empty. M&M showrooms were full to the brim. This was 3 months ago, right? And there's a waiting period on some of their cars as well. So they've gotten their act together. It'll be interesting to see what happens to pricing on the 14th of Feb. But the cars look good.
Really?
They are driving well. The maintenance costs are low.
I think अभी recently आया था ना?
नहीं अभी तक जो भी आया I think they are unveiling the pricing and bookings of all the 9 cars on 14th of Feb.
Yeah, but you know I have.
मुझे इसलिए याद है क्योंकि Valentine's Day है.
अच्छा, right. Feb 14th को. But you know why I'm little skeptical here.
On M&M?
M&M is not because of the kind of products they have or the price.
It's good coffee by the way.
It's
just rubbing it in.
Cafe.
Okay, sorry. Please finish your
It was supposed to come in 10 minutes. It came in 40 minutes.
Oh, that's not good feedback.
Okay, so
Zepto's going to contact us for sponsorships.
No, he's being factual.
No, I'm being factual. What I'm trying to say is that they are stuck because they have a hybrid thing and the pricing is stuck because of the RBI in the EV part of it. वो अपना EV का pricing hybrid से नीचे नहीं लेके जा सकते. Oh, because it will cannibalize.
They don't have hybrid.
But in the sense they are.
M&M doesn't have hybrid.
इनका है.
नहीं. In fact, no. M&M doesn't have hybrid. In fact, Anish Shah, when I asked him, because Puneet, our auto analyst, had told me in Davos when you meet him, and today also I'll ask him, but in Davos to ask him, वो range extender category, will they go to hybrid? So Anish Shah categorically said that as of now we believe that EV is the way to go. If in our wisdom we think that hybrid is also a good example, we'll go to that. But as of now we are completely focused on EVs. So they can't take it below petrol or diesel, exactly whatever the case.
पर hybrid के नीचे भी नहीं ले जाएंगे. Market में hybrid के नीचे भी नहीं ले जाएंगे.
But hybrid तो across price points है ना sir. तो कैसे फिर?
नहीं तो अभी जो बात चल रही है price points की. It's supposed to be little above.
They are launching it at a
premium.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it will. Means how do I say? They have a good, better battery. Look is good.
Only looks.
No, look is good. And battery.
And inside of the car is really good.
Interior is good.
Everything is good.
But only the pricing point which is there. And
but again,
I was also,
But Sajeet, the point maybe, see, I haven't seen that 30 lakh rupee car, as of now. But people who've seen it say that there is I don't know which company, but there's a 40 lakh rupee car available, jiske features are lower than the 30 lakh rupee car that M&M is giving out. So maybe we are thinking in our wisdom that they are launched at a premium punch line, but they are maybe launching it, yes, as a premium car, but at a discount to something else available in the market. See, all I'm saying is, in the last 3 years, I don't think they have put a foot wrong on their.
That is true. The product selection,
pricing, distribution,
the product selection has been very
everything.
sensible.
I remember when the XUV 700 was launched, someone told me it was a 16 lakh rupees, and I looked at the car and I said, boss, this doesn't look bad for a 16 lakh rupee car at all, just outside. I didn't even have a feel of the car.
The only thing they went wrong was that, especially because at the time of semiconductor, was they were expecting demand at the lower end. The demand came at the higher end cars, basically. And so there was a big.
But regardless, they killed it on the XUV 700.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Now very quickly.
Sorry, please. Therefore, likely the same strategy will play out.
It's a question for all of you.
Explain the rate cut importance to me in a way my granny can also understand.
I'll take the macro quickly, 30 seconds. Lily, for your granny, rate cut का importance ये है कि इंडिया में ग्रोथ इज स्लोइंग डाउन और ग्रोथ स्लो डाउन को काउंटर करने के लिए वन ऑफ द टूल्स लिक्विडिटी मेजर्स आप बहुत सुनते होंगे बट रेट कट्स आर आल्सो वन ऑफ द टूल्स टू स्पर ग्रोथ. तो अगर इन्फ्लेशन ऊपर है तो आरबीआई रेट कट नहीं कर सकता है. ग्लोबल फैक्टर्स बहुत सारी चीजें हैं लेकिन आपकी दादी माँ के लिए बोल रहा हूँ कि बिकॉज अगर इन्फ्लेशन मॉडरेट है और अगर ग्रोथ कम हो रहा है तो आरबीआई रेट कट कर सकती है ताकि इससे रोटेशन ऑफ मनी बढ़ जाए, लोग शायद बोरोइंग ज्यादा कर सके, लोग सेविंग ज्यादा कर सके, उसकी वजह से इकोनॉमी में चहल पहल हो सकती है. सो इफ यू वांट इट इन इंग्लिश, सिंपली पुट, a rate cut can spur economic growth. It's a very powerful tool to spur growth. It happened last in COVID because COVID mein growth had stopped, so the RBI cut rates. This is what central bankers world over do. So for your granny, if your granny wants to understand, a rate cut helps growth, and that is what the government or anybody else would be hoping the RBI would do, and the RBI has briefly done that. That's my 30-second or 40-second answer.
Just if your granny has a FD, maybe उसका रेट थोड़ा सा कम हो जाएगा आगे जाके.
Go but the impact,
the bear and the banter.
Now let's go.
Now you'll get all three.
Now you give the banter as well.
I couldn't believe Sajeet sir said that.
I told you, right? The skeptic investor. But
sorry, yes. So
very quickly.
So growth coming down is a concern. As Niraj sir said, a lower repo. What does this mean? A lower rate. Let's remove the word repo. A lower rate means that banks can borrow money from the RBI at a lower rate. Because money becomes cheaper for banks, what they will do is they will borrow that money and they'll go out and lend at a cheaper rate, right? And that's exactly what will spur growth. This is the net impact at the most fundamental level of what a rate cut is.
Okay, so that is one.
Yeah.
Now, is there any other question? Otherwise,
There's one question which is about, will market see an upside from Monday?
Yeah,
I think we are going to go back to earnings and how earnings have done in the last 1.5 months, right? We're just coming to the end of earnings. Feb 15th.
So, except for today, the last few days. So, today was a bad day for earnings, but except for today, the last few days, earnings have been actually pretty good. There's a bit of a recovery that we are seeing. Remember, I was speaking about the Citi note. Citi said that the last few. So, therefore, to cut a long story short, from a trade perspective, I still think, I said this morning as well on the trade setup, that if it were not for the policy, I would believe that the screen is telling you that the market is still batting for some upside here on the trading side. Now, at those levels, if the market were to go to 24,000, I think a lot of people will turn very cautious because there are a lot of red flags right now. Yes. So, to cut a long story short, again, I'm sounding repetitive. Yahan se 500 points, 700 points upside on the Nifty. Very likely the screen is telling you that maybe there is some more upside here, but be cautious.
Yeah, I mean 2400 के ऊपर तो लोग 24,000 के ऊपर तो लोग
2400
really getting bearish.
No, 25,000 के ऊपर people start booking some profits whatever they have gained basically. But we are still 12% from the top. So I think my estimate is that earnings is something which will be now, means the market will now recalibrate and see कि भाई 25 का EPS क्या आता है, जो the exercise that you did, right, means कि 26 में कितना EPS बढ़ सकता है, 5%, 9%, 12% जो भी है,
exactly,
and that exercise will now happen because
25 seems to be 1025 rupees. Sajeet, वो almost given है कि हजार से 1020 के बीच में EPS.
मैंने देखा है कि हम शुरुआत तो बहुत हाई EPS से करते हैं,
1100 था, अभी बिल्डिंग ना 2020 तो 3-4% ग्रोथ.
हाँ 3-4% अगर आ जाता है तो अच्छी बात है मेरे ख्याल से. अच्छा, बट 26 का क्या है वो दिखना पड़ेगा. That's the problem. Because across consumption baskets, EPS cuts have happened. Price cuts हुए कि नहीं हुए, but EPS cuts तो हुए हैं.
Okay, anything else? Small caps are not bad. IT is not bad. Banks are down 0.5%. So that is the bit of a.
But it's come off.
IT not being bad is not a surprise because currency will see some pressure as a result of the decision today.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, by the way. I don't know if we've mentioned this out here, but Hersh did that link as well. Jeffries said that in last 15 सालों में IT and banks have typically done opposite moves. This is the last point that I'm making. 75% of the times, 20 or 25% of the times, they've moved in the same direction. Jeffries believes, I'm not saying we believe, Jeffries believes that right now both of them are in tango to move ahead. And they are constructive IT too.
By the way, means we just got the numbers for of January. 2.8 FI flows sector wise. Financial service में $2.8 billion का outflow, the largest in January alone. So that's something which we need to ponder. But we have seen some pickup in Bajaj Finance, ICICI, SGFC in the last few months.
Highest underweight by FIs in the last 15 years. At some point of time, this will turn. Maybe not now. At some point of time.
So what is the turning point for that?
I think Q4 earnings. Because the con calls for a lot of companies were not bad actually for Q4. And by the way, just one last point here, the government capex targets, right, point to us near 21% growth in capex for Feb and March. And we know that December was very strong, Jan numbers yet to come. If that turns out right, then you're actually seeing Q4. Thermax today, for example, said that Q3 was a forgetful quarter, but Q4 will be a splendid quarter. This is Thermax, heart of capital goods, saying Q4 will be good. Watch out for a good Q4. I think that could.
Means we just have what, 1.5 months left?
Exactly.
Means maybe we should do an exercise of what is the kind of capex orders which have come in last 45 days. And
maybe that too, yeah.
You know, and then
worth it.
Worth and then we can say that कैसे क्या दिख रहा है actually और कौन से sectors में आ रहा है वो exercise करेंगे तो अच्छा दिखेगा.
Yeah, I'm also waiting for the report from Motilal Oswal. They put out a report called Voices, wherein they give the con-call summary of the companies.
Company, yeah.
अभी हमें भी करना चाहिए, but
हम करते हैं basically, थोड़ा चैनल पे करते हैं.
हाँ, but I think it'll be nice to get a summation and then try and do a whole summary of whether the con calls weightage wise have looked bullish, bearish, or banter. Okay, anything else, guys?
That's it, I think.
Hersh, any last points?
No, I think we're good.
Cool.
Yes.
I think we're stretched as well.
Yes.
Yep. So let's bounce today.
Bounced.
Let's bounce today and let's
Monday.
Let's join 12:30 Monday.
I'll give you some. I'll be at the Aero Show, so I'll be speaking to some of the defense companies.
Nice.
So maybe I'll give you some insights on what they are thinking.
Oh,
about
please do, Sajeet. We wouldn't mind actually taking you on the phone line at 12:30 if you
No,
can come in.
Maybe I can join on
Yeah,
Zoom.
and just try and understand how this is going.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great.
Done. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was productive. I hope we've been able to give a good lowdown of what's happened with regard to the RBI and PC as well.
And thank you for giving our show a name. Much appreciated.
Yes, that too.